Hey, it's Nikachu, and today we are going to take a closer look at the Legacy ban list. Is there anything that we can take off? You know, the Modern community, we're always paying really close attention to the Modern ban list because Modern has changed so much. Almost every single set shakes it up and the environment changes in a way that we can reevaluate those cards on that ban list in a new light. And I don't think anyone has paid attention to the Legacy ban list in like a decade. So many of those cards are an absolute, complete joke. So let's take a look at it. Let's start this off with Library of Alexandria. I mean, this is a land you can tap for a generic mana, or you can tap to draw a card if you have 7 cards in your hand. Oh, come on, please. On the play, this card is completely useless because you start the game with 7 cards. Okay, you play your Library of Alexandria for the turn. Now you're at 6. What are you gonna do now? Are you gonna do nothing? You're just gonna pass the turn, wait till your next turn, tap and draw another card? Do you have any idea how much time you've wasted? How much tempo you've given up against so many archetypes? And the same thing is true if you're on the draw. All right, you draw a card for the turn on the draw. You now have 8. You play your Library of Alexandria. What, you gonna do nothing on the draw? You're basically gonna pass the turn, draw a card on their turn? You're giving up so much tempo against the Delver decks, against the combo decks. This strategy is unplayable. The one card is not worth it, not to mention it can still get wastelanded. If you take any mulligan, this card is now just basically a wastes. Library of Alexandria is an easy unban in Legacy. Next we have Mind Twist. Exactly tell me how on earth you can abuse this card. What, like turn 1 Dark Ritual, Mind Twist you for like what, 4? Like you lost 3 cards of your own, so you've net 1 card against your opponent. Like that's not really that big of a deal. And yeah, it could be a little random, but we got stuff like that, like him to Turok, so it's no big deal. And I mean, let's be serious, no deck is realistically going to be playing this card. I think this is also a very easy unban. And like, you might say, oh, this is like a no fun sort of card. Well, what if you mind twist the wrong player? What if you mind twist the Reanimator player? What if you accidentally mind twist the Dredge player? That's when DJ Khaled walks into the room and says, you played yourself. Smash like for Mind Twist making plot twists. Next, Mana Drain. I mean, Counterspell already sees no play in the format. No play. 2 mana counterspells? I mean, they're completely dead. The only counterspells that can compete in this format are either ones that cost 1 mana, we're talking things like Pyroblast, Stifle, or they cost no mana. We're talking Daze, Force of Will, Force of Negation. So it would be super debatable if this card would even see play or if it even has the right shell. It might help the control decks a little bit. Hey, they mana drain the right creature, and then maybe they have the mana to play something like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria on their turn. They can play a slightly higher casting cost of their planeswalkers, things they might not have done before because they don't have access to that mana in Legacy, but they can do now because Mana Drain helps them curve out in that way. And you only get generic mana, so you can't like grossly abuse it by playing like super multicolored spells. So Mana Drain, I think people have not really looked at this card. I mean, at a point where Counterspell becomes unplayable, I think you can start looking at Mana Drain and try to unban it. Next, we look at Earthcraft, a 2 mana enchantment, tap an untap creature you control, untap target basic land. Very few decks can even abuse this. And how on earth does this even convert to something broken? All right, let's say in theory that Elves wants to play this card, which maybe they do. So turn 1, you play, I don't know, Nettle Sentinel. Turn 2, you play Earthcraft. Tap your Nettle Sentinel, untap Forest. Play a 1-drop. Tap, untap land, play another 1-drop. Empty your hands of 1-drops. Have you won the game? It's turn 2. Have you won the game yet? Let's be serious. Elves can do way more broken things on turn 2 than do stuff with Earthcraft. So really, I think that this card is an easy unban. Elves will still be winning on turn 3 as they usually do, and at the very least, you can counterspell this. This card does not even count as a creature when the Elves player plays Gaia's Cradle, so there is bad synergy. So if you're not winning on turn 2 with this card and you're really looking to be comboing off on turn 3, I think Earthcraft is an easy unban. Next, Memory Jar. 5 mana. Are you kidding me? In Legacy? I mean, if you can actually cast and get this thing to resolve, you deserve a medal. I mean, you deserve everything that Memory Jar has to offer you. This card is unplayable. So you look at the ability of Memory Jar. Sacrifice it. Each player sets aside their hand face down. Then you draw 7 cards. At end of turn, they discard their hand of cards and then brings back the hand that they put down. That is going to backfire on you badly. I mean, against all the decks that want to utilize the graveyard, like the Dredge decks, like the Reanimator decks, or even decks that use the graveyard as a resource. Storm player might look at Past in Flames and say, oh, don't mind if I do. So Memory Jar is just strictly unplayable in today's Legacy metagame. Tolarian Academy. Show me the artifact deck that is flourishing in Legacy. I mean, they are hurting. How on earth is Gaia's Cradle still legal and Tolarian Academy is banned? There is no artifact deck out there. They're unplayable. And as a result, Tolarian Academy won't even be that good. The Metalworker deck sucks. The problem is that Tolarian Academy has this incredibly bad reputation ever since it was broken in Standard. But Standard is a completely different environment to Legacy, and I think it's time we unban the Academy. It's about time that the Academy takes you to school. Take a look at Necropotence. I mean, first off, it's triple black, which is going to be really harsh on your mana base, but skip your draw step. What are you, nuts? That's everything that you have in this game. Whenever you discard a card, remove that card in your graveyard from the game. So, I mean, you cannot use your graveyard as a resource if you tried to make this into a combo deck. Now, the reason you play Necropotence is you pay a life, remove the top card of your library from the game face down, put that card into your hand at the end of your turn. You don't even draw the cards. You have to wait an entire turn before you can utilize any of them. What if you put your life total super low and in range of a few lightning bolts from that Delver player, or in range of dying to some sort of swing from your opponent? Not to mention, remember, you skipped your draw step. What if your life total is already super low? You're going to draw like a maximum 2 or 3 cards off of this thing, and then that's it. It's dead, and you're going to be dead because you cannot draw any more cards naturally from the top of your deck in order to combat whatever the hell is on the battlefield. Necropotence was most broken when there was fast mana like Mana Vault, when you had really good tutors like Mystical Tutor and Demonic Consultation, but all that stuff is banned, so I don't see Necropotence as being a problem. And then we get to a card like Mishra's Workshop, and like I said before, like, artifact decks are super hurting in Legacy. They could use a boost like Mishra's Workshop, tap to add 3 mana to your mana pool, but you're only restricted to the artifact cards. This land is so underwhelming that it's not even restricted in Vintage. I don't even see how anyone could possibly imagine that this card would run away with the format. I mean, this is a Wasteland format. Wasteland will keep Mishra's Workshop completely in check. And if it doesn't, we can just unban Strip Mine and bring balance to the format. And lastly, Bazaar of Baghdad. This card is completely unplayable. It doesn't even tap for mana. Draw 2 cards, discard 3? I mean, that's just card disadvantage. In the late game, this is a completely dead draw. I mean, you need enough cards in your hand in order to take advantage of its looting effect. If you were to unban this card tomorrow, it would see 0 play. Take my word for it. 0 play. Bazaar of Baghdad has very similar problems to Library of Alexandria in that you're basically wasting your time, but at least Library of Alexandria could be tapped for mana, not so with Bazaar of Baghdad. So when you play this card, I mean, you're literally taking turns off. There's no way in hell that you have time to do that in Legacy. So which of these cards do you think deserve an unban? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, let me know if there are any other cards on the Legacy ban list that are worth getting unbanned. So smash like for unbanning cards, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, or Wizards of the Coast is gonna ban Brainstorm in Legacy.